Hello, welcome to my channel. Let's get philosophical and shit today. Let's dissect some behaviors and just fucking chat. My name's Mariah and this is my channel, Kalidara Creations, and I want to talk today about a pattern that I am quite familiar with, one that has operated a lot of my life and I still see it show up in ways, and this morning I recognized it showing up, and that is what inspired this video. And that pattern is this habit of trying to save someone, particularly in romantic relationships, but it's reflected in other relationships as well. And it's really just a framework, a way of orienting to the world. My intention with this video today is to approach it from a little bit of a different angle than I feel like where it's usually viewed from, where it's becoming more popular, for people to recognize this savior complex type pattern that a lot of people experience, and especially women. But I feel like so often we just look at it on the surface and we just say, don't do that, you don't need to save him. I want to peel it back even more and start to uncover why are we doing this? Because I feel like when we really illuminate the function of a behavior, it's much more easy to dissipate because we see it at its source, we see what is stimulating it. I feel like when we try to push away a behavior that we don't fully understand, then we end up looping in it, not really seeing what is at the core of it. How to talk about this? That is the question. I get so shy on camera. I'm just gonna talk from personal experience. Let's start off that way. So growing up, I took on the role of the fixer in my family, kind of being the middleman, trying to resolve the conflict in order to feel a little bit more peace. And I'll spare the details for now, but just in general, explaining this to communicate that there was a part of me that subconsciously developed this identity, this persona of being the fixer. And with that, I also feel like I tied some of my self-worth to that identity, meaning when I would intervene in the conflict and try to save the person, try to help, then in a way I felt wanted. I got attention, and this attention maybe felt like love. So this program was written where if I try to take on and take away other people's problems, then I am worthy, then my existence is validated. Thus this identity is created and it's logged into this subconscious program, and I carry it on with me in life, and it's just running in the background, which has stimulated certain relationship dynamics where that role has been perpetuated, where I find myself with partners that aren't really available, that don't really take on much responsibility. So it seems like I'm taking on extra responsibility. But I want to pause here. First hole I want to poke at this whole thing is that within these dynamics, the typical feeling is that one person feels as if they are taking on all the responsibility. And on the surface, this is true, yet in a deeper sense, I feel like it's not truly taking on extra responsibility. I feel like it's avoiding true responsibility. Avoiding responsibility in the sense of denying something that feels unsettling deep within, where the dynamic doesn't feel truly settling for your nervous system, yet you continue to pursue it and you continue to take on this extra baggage. Yet is this actually responding, or is this just reacting? Is this just a habit that you're continuing to maintain? So are you actually taking on extra responsibility, or are you avoiding the responsibility of being honest with yourself and choosing something that actually feels settling for your nervous system? And now that we got the ball rolling with this, let's poke another hole at it. I feel like when you orient to somebody in a way where you feel like you need to save them, you're never actually going to save them, because if you do something that maybe delays the consequences of their actions, you give them temporary relief, which, side note, maybe that's one of the reasons why they're attracted to you, for the temporary relief, but you're never truly going to be able to resolve their issues because they can only do that for themselves. So in a way, you're just enabling the behavior under the disguise of saving them. Because think about it, by trying to save someone, you're really just robbing them of an opportunity for them to learn, to face the consequences of their actions. So if you truly orient to life in a way where you recognize that everything is teaching you, where I believe that even our hardships have lessons within them if we choose to orient to them in that way. So if you're going to save someone, then you're not allowing them to actually face their hardships and to learn the lessons themselves, which is what they truly need in order to actually embody the gold of what is underneath the hardship, to really do true alchemy and melt it down and see what is underneath. So if you keep trying to swoop in and save them, then maybe you're preventing them from hitting that rock bottom, which is where they will actually find what they need in order to grow, in order to learn, in order to actually embody it themselves. You cannot change someone. You can only inspire change, but they have to be receptive to it. And I feel like when we continually try to save someone, we're in a way communicating to them that we don't trust in their own ability to respond. Because whether or not they see it, their power lies within their own sense of responsibility. So if you try to swoop in, then they'll never truly be able to step into an empowered space. And in a way, I feel like saving is a form of control, where we, the people who are trying to do the saving, feel unsettled with the environment that we're in. So if we save the other person, then maybe the environment will get better, which is a similar signature to the dynamic experience growing up, where the environments felt unsettling. So if you save the day, then everything will dissipate. So that dynamic is an imprint that is carried along into now, into future relationship dynamics that seems like a new play with new characters, but underneath it's the same energetic signature that is playing out over and over again. And I feel like the perpetuation of this dynamic is just the ego continually trying to find safety or stability in what it has identified as home. So even though it's not necessarily safe or stable, it's safe and stable in the sense that this is what it has always known. The identity that was created as a child is affirmed, it's validated, it gets to stay alive and keep going and going and going. Yet this child moves from a space of insecurity. She moves from a space of feeling like she's inherently unworthy and needs to seek the worthiness from an external source. So we can have compassion for this identity structure that was formed by a younger self, yet also recognize the truth of the matter, that this is a form of manipulation, that this is a form of control, that this is a form of staying stagnant, stuck within a pattern that has long since died, yet continuing it creates motion, but only motion within the pattern. And no wonder why we feel distressed when we're stuck in a pattern, because I feel that life wants to move through us. Life is constantly in motion, and when we stay stuck, there's naturally a sense of distress because the current of life wants to move and we're just like, whoop, swirling up in it. So I just speak to all of this in a way to potentially illuminate what is going on behind the scenes, where I feel like I've noticed a popular narrative around women expressing how they're sick of trying to save a man. And to me, a lot of these claims feel like they're coming from partial reflections where they can recognize the frustration with the man's part, but I feel that it's so important where if we actually want the pattern to stop, we need to take a step back and see where our part is. We need to take radical responsibility. Every person playing a part in this dynamic needs to take ownership of their part of why this is happening if you actually want to break out of the cycle. Because yes, you can point fingers and start blaming the other person for their behaviors, but that only gets you so far. Like, I'm not denying the impact that certain behaviors have or the ways that these dynamics have felt incredibly challenging. I'm not invalidating that, but what I'm saying is that if you actually want to take it a step further and break the cycle, it's really important to reflect on your role in the whole orchestration of it, to really discover what the deeper why is. Anywho, it's getting dark, so I'm gonna wrap this video up. Thank you so much for watching this. As always, I truly appreciate you taking some moments in your day to direct your precious energy to what I'm sharing on here. Maybe it sparks something within you. Maybe you start to reflect on some things and see some things in a different light. Nonetheless, I hope you have a good night. Till next time.